Hey everybody, this is my name is Coach Gaskin. I'm the defensive coordinator at Stebbins High School here in Dayton, Ohio. Just a little background about myself. I started out in 2002 at Nelson County High School in the state of Kentucky. From there, I coached there until 2006. I left and went to Fort Knox High School and coached there until 2010. Which is then when I moved up to Ohio and I started coaching at Oakwood. And then from Oakwood, I left there and took about a 4-year hiatus. And then I started at Stebbins with my head coach, Greg Bonifay. We've been trying to build to success there at Stebbins. I know there's not been a ton there, but we've been trying to build a little success there and just doing things the right way, trying to get kids to buy in. And this year we had some pretty good success with it. We ended up going 5-3, winning our division in the MVL. And we also made it to the third round of the playoffs. We ended up going down to play LaSalle at LaSalle, and we got beat there. And then that was the end of our season. But all in all, it's one of the best seasons Stebbins has had in quite a while. So we were pretty senior heavy and able to lean on some of those guys and do some good things this year. You can see my info here on the screen, email, that's the high school address there, and then my head coach, Coach Bonifay, and his Twitter handle. We have, I'm willing to talk or meet or, do anything with anybody if they'd like to reach out after this. First and foremost, this is our little acronym for how, as a defensive coordinator, I want my kids to think about each snap. It starts out with their stance, having a good stance. Then it starts out with their alignment. Are they where they're supposed to be when when the play is snapped? Are you in the right alignment? Your key. So if you're in the right alignment, do you know where your key is? If you do, if you know where your key is, you know how to read it, and that you can do what the stimulus tells you to do from your key. And then your assignment. So if you're in a passing down or something, you know your zone, you know your man if we're man, etc. So that's how we try to break down and tell our kids this is how we can be successful as a defense and go and do good things on defense. By living out this acronym, the SAKA, stance, alignment, key, and assignment. First off, what I'm going to talk about here is how we use our defensive line to help our linebackers be more successful, especially in passing downs and even in some run downs. We try to use our defensive line in a way that gives our linebackers the ability to play in space easier. I think we're a 4-3 defense, and typically we can look a little 4-2-5-ish, especially against spread teams because our SAM will spread out a little more. But what we end up typically trying to do with our alignments is make our linebackers have less of a they don't have that or they don't have the run responsibility inside that they might have if we were to line up normally and just turn them loose. Because as we know, in this formation, a lot of teams, especially spreads teams, are wanting to do a little RPO action, and they're going to read him. If he folds in to go for the run, then they're going to just throw either the bubble screen or the quick slant or something like that. And so typically what we end up doing, and we'll do an under front to a lot of stuff because we like the short side of the field with the 3 tech. It gives our Mike a little easier read to the middle. But the biggest thing for us is just it allows us to get our end to be able to go inside. Now our Sam backer here is able to sit instead of, he can step and stay to deter and have a give read there for most RPO teams. In this situation with him sitting, this quarterback's taught, now you give because we've got numbers in the box. We typically look at line movement as pretty cheap as far as what it costs. Now this one here, quarterback could get outside on us, but we'll take the chance because we have a pretty athletic end who can redirect pretty well. And with this sudden movement at the snap, most of our movements are post snap. We do some different alignments, and we will do some special alignments like some double threes and stuff. But for the most part, we line up and then we'll slant to our different gaps. We'll try to do a post-snap read so we don't give anything away, pre-snap so they can get a read on it. We want to try to look the same every time we line up so that the quarterback and the coaches up in the box don't get a read on exactly what we're doing. Now for this, obviously, we got our end smashing down here into the B gap, which allows, like I said, our Sam here to set and deter any kind of slant or bubble because now we have our 3 playing 2 out here. Now, obviously our Willie, he doesn't have any inside gap, so he can hang outside and really beat up number 2 if he tries to run vertical or anything to help our free safety out. He can really get over and be almost like a cover down on this guy here that allows, gives our free safety time to read and see what's going on, whether it's a run or a pass play. Mike, he's looking for the ball. Our Mike, especially this year, he's a really big run first player for us. He doesn't, he obviously he's in the pass game because he has to be, but he's really is a run first guy, and he's looking to find the ball and get the running back on the ground, which he did a pretty good job for us this year. And we try to give him simplistic one gap reads where he's just looking for the ball and going. And that worked out for us pretty well this year. And you can see this is one particular formation for us. Second formation, we haven't seen this as much. We saw a little more from LaSalle, but we'll do what they call formation into boundary, the FIB. And when they do this, a lot of teams, we typically don't want to flip all the way, but we'll, in this particular, because they're more in the middle of the field, we will bring our Sam over and he's going to apex. Again, we'll put our strong end in a 7, and that allows him to play that C gap strong. Now he can sit on anything short and then still have his outside shoulder free. If they do try to run out here, he can get upfield and rip off this block. It also gives our safety, he can cover down on 2, and our safety can run the alley if they try to run out here. The Will backer is inside. He has a nice simplistic one gap read. Free safety, post snap will flow down. He'll help on anything quarterback wise out here on the outside. And the corner is going to be more of a mod coverage, a man over deep. He's got help short on any slants. He knows that, so he can kind of stay over top and just make sure he doesn't get beat deep here. Again, an underlook from the line helps us keep our guys free, and they aren't tied down to an inside gap out here, which really helps cover these, especially teams that want to run short. And it even allows him to help on the quick outs. He can get there quicker now because he doesn't have to worry about folding in. He can now help on those speed outs and those option routes. They like to run the little shoot route here and then go back out if he tries to duck inside too quick. With our guys here, we typically try to keep it to as simple as we can with one gap and not overwhelm them with information. They want to know the top 3 plays out of any formation, and then how they're going to, and then the stimulus they're going to see from their key. After that, we try to keep it as simple as we can and make it as one gap, as much of a one gap defense as we can. In our straight 4-3, like if there's a pro set, there is our Mike will two gap. None of our linemen will, but our Mike will two gap. He will actually take strong A and weak B on flow. The will backer will stack the end and kind of hang outside. So the Mike will take on the ISO block in ISO, and the will keep his outside shoulder free for when the bounce comes. So when you see, when we see something like this, it actually gets a little easier for us because now our Mike and our will are one gap players, and that's what that makes it easy for them to think and just play football. They know what the tendencies are. Now just go play football and make a tackle, get the kid on the ground. Typically, again, we like our Sam to hang unless otherwise known, or unless, through film study, we determine the running back is most dangerous. Maybe we want him to throw, we'll adjust. But with the A back here, typically we're going to want him to get the ball. He's less dangerous than this guy out in space because most teams are moving their best athletes. If they're not at quarterback, they put him at that slot because, got to get that kid the ball. If he's your best athlete, you want him making plays out on the edge. And so we typically would like to have a give read with this kid, and then we'll rally to make a tackle and defeat a block, which is, how we tend to play defense. We want to make you have 10 plays because we figure at some point in those 10, you're going to make a mistake, put yourself behind the chains, or you're going to fumble or throw an interception. And then we take advantage of that. All right, now we have the nub set. We have seen this a little more, where I call it the nub set. It's where they put a tight end away from trips, and it adds an extra run gap back here. It can be tricky because you have to adjust to the trips, but then it's all in how you adjust to the trips. Now, you see what we've got here. And what we'll typically do is line up normally. So we'll have a 3 tech, we'll have a 5 tech, we'll have a 7 tech on our end over here playing the inside gap, and then our nose is lined up in a 2-eye. In our base defense, he would be lined up in a shade, in a 1 tech shade on the center with our nose, and Will would be out here a little more. But because the pass strength is over here, we want to get Will a little bit closer over here in case they try to run a shallow back here, because they'll run Y off, and that'll take the corner out of the picture, and then they'll have this number 3 receiver run a shallow, and there'll be nobody over here. Well, we like to get our Willie with his eyes going that way at the snap of the ball. That way he can, if he reads a pass read, his eyes are already looking that way, and bam, he can see if number 3's coming. Now, obviously Mike and Sam should be communicating any short, shallow route anyways, but it gets him in a position and his eyes looking at his target in a pass situation. By just giving him the inside gap to look at, it gets him to see better if there's any underneath routes coming. Now, obviously, in a run situation, this end really they could get outside. Our corner's primary force right here, secondary force. And then Willie's just going to make do. If he comes out here, he's going to fill gap and then scrape once he gets wide. We really haven't had a ton of issues, at least this year, when we see this formation of stopping the run back here with this. Our Willie was one of our better linebackers. He read really well. So in run situations, he really was good at just finding the crease and sticking in that crease, especially against zone teams. Now, a lot of times, especially against gap teams, they'll see him on the inside shade, and this guy's thinking he's got a down block here. This nose a lot of times would blow it up, because as soon as he crosses face, this guy's thinking down block now. This nose crosses face, and now this kid is left blocking nobody. And a lot of times we'd even see it on film. That kid would turn around and try to still go get the nose. Well, he'd leave a hole here. Willie can just run up in there and make the tackle. And it's all because of this after snap shift, where he's taking the blocking rules of that gap team. You know, they're thinking down block here. You're crossing his face at the snap. This guy thinks he's coming out to the backer, right? So he's going to come down. Nose now creases it. Willie sees the open window. He's there right now. We're making a play with corner sealing the edge off. Again, we use our line. We use motion in our line to help our linebackers make plays and get their eyes looking in the right direction. Same with Mike here on the outside. Mike, normally he's an inside gap guy. Well, now we've filled A and B for him, so he's going to play C outside. So if quarterback rolls, he can get up in his face right now. But another thing with this, when Mike takes his step outside, and it takes his read step outside, his eyes and everything are automatically, pass. His eyes are already, he can already look out there and see, what are they doing out here? Are they bringing somebody in quickly where I need to get in this hook to curl quickly? Am I, is this guy trying to run a shallow? I need to communicate to the will. Are they running are they running a dig here? Now you've got him flowing in that direction at the snap of the ball without having him to read anything to get there. He's stepping naturally, and then from the natural flow of his read, he's then engaging with the pass play if he gets a pass read. We just find that it helps our guys process things quicker when you have them stepping and moving towards their assignment without having to read something back in. Their read is not because he's going to read this guard right here. So he steps, he sees him pass block, he's already stepping and he's looking this way. If he sees a block, a run block, he knows he's got to scrape outside hip of that tackle and squeeze it down if run's coming. Because again, we've got a safety here, corner here, Will here. We're fine in the numbers game. We don't have to worry about being outnumbered. And between Willie and the nose, typically one of those guys ends up making the tackle in this formation for us, because we don't because this is such an unnatural movement for a guy in a 2-eye. Like I said, most teams want a down block, and when he sidesteps and gets upfield, it throws off and really, they're expecting a down block and to create a gap here because it's an open B gap, and it doesn't happen like they draw it up a lot of times. So we can get some pretty big plays out of this kid without him having to just be a stud and, smash this guy back and shed him. He can use his quickness to his advantage in that. We can call blitzes out of this, and the gap is just, they're not, they know if we're slanting the gap exchange there with the blitzers, no big deal for us. It's all within the flow of the defense. Really try to keep it as simple and base as we can with our 4-3, because we don't want to overwhelm them with different formations or, not different formations, but we don't want to overwhelm them with, special blitzes or, special situation stuff. We want them to just, this is what we do in defense, call the defense, and they, they fly to the ball, which we did a pretty good job this year with it, and hopefully continue. All right. Again, sorry, it's the same thing. Nub said again, we can do this is out of trips, or we went full under here. We moved him to a 2-eye. We moved our tackle to the 2-eye. He stays in the 5. He actually goes to the nose, goes to the 3 tech, and then he's head up over top of the tight end. Now, The only, for us in this, obviously, gap exchange here because he's now got the B gap, he's got the C gap. Corner's still there. Free safety can still help, so we're still good with numbers. Out here, still good with numbers. He's beating up number 2. If he sees anything, if Sammy sees anything, he's reading 2 to 3 here. If 3 bubbles, he's fighting through right now to go get that bubble. Safety's taking his spot, hook to curl. But again, main thing, we're using our line. We're using line movement here. Interior gaps are filled. Willie is moving towards the trips, the pass strength, at the step of the snap of the ball. Mike, same thing, step and snap, just out of a different look. Out of an under look, we kind of do the same thing. We don't have to post snap move as much with these interior guys. They're just lined up, and now they're going to take this gap out. They're just going to take the gap they're lined up in. The end still slants. In, going to hammer that tight end, make sure he doesn't get off the ball clean, and then look inside, trying to make the gap bounce because we've got a short side over here. Anytime we got the sideline, that's our friend. That's our 12th defender. Make him bounce because if he's running east and west, what's he going to do? All he can do is run out of bounds. That's the same as a tackle. I don't know how much of this set guys are seeing. We saw it a little bit in our conference play. We saw a little more in the playoffs, especially when we went to play LaSalle. They were a little more formation heavy, so we had to find answers for what they were doing in it out of this, and we were able to. We had a few. LaSalle's pretty darn good, so we weren't as successful as maybe other times, but we were able to get a stop or two on them and find some success with it. All right. Out of this set, again, it's the old stubby. It's kind of a spread set, except you don't have a wide receiver. You bring the tight end in, and then they bring an H-back, everybody's favorite H-back here. Now, the big thing with this is you have 2 passing threats on this side. So typically what we'll do in this, the outside passing threat will be taken by the corner. The inside passing threat will be taken by the safety. So if this guy runs just straight up the seam, free safety takes it, more than likely he's going to run some sort of out or some sort of flare out here. He'll pretend like he's going to block and then flare corners on him. But again, same thing for us. We slant in, give our, in this one, we don't have trips. We just have twins, so we already have 3 to their 2. Mike now has as a B gap player, so he's stepping in case anything's coming shallow here. But he's now, stepping B gap, making his read on the guard, flying to the ball. We use our defensive alignment and our slants and everything to help out our linebackers. Willie, same thing. Anytime there's a nub back here with nobody wide outside, he's thinking inside first, nose, split in, or strong in. He's trying to turn everything back inside. He's gonna smash the tight end back, feel the pressure, and then try to turn everything back inside. Now, on this, you're right. They could try to ISO here, but if he tries to come up and lead on him, he's through the back door, guess what? We're fine, because this should draw a double team. So if we get a double team here, nobody's there, because this guy, center, is going to have to help with our 3 tech on this side. So he can still make a play, even though he's going to try to come up and block, because he's got a back door here, and he's actually made that play a few times for us, because we typically we'll try to tie up 3 guys with just the 2 with movement. We had a lot of success this year just with our line slants and keeping our linebackers free. This being one of, obviously this formation, we didn't see a ton of this formation, but anytime there's an H-back, we want to try to be we're thinking run right now. And so we're trying to get our guys flowing downhill, even our safety, get him down in the run game. And obviously our corner, he's thinking run right now, keying that tight end, seeing if he releases or if he blocks. If he blocks, he's up here right now trying to help, because there should be nobody there to get him if everything plays right. All right. That's really about all I got. I didn't have a ton of stuff. Just try to keep it simple. Try to just share a little bit of what we were able to be successful with this year. A lot of under. We were a 4-3 over team most of the time, but we'd go to under in certain situations, especially when trips were in play. We'd do a lot of under to try to get our linebackers naturally to be able to play over and help in that natural hole that kind of hits right here in trips. We would go. Normally there's a bit of a hole here, and they'll run that little option route. They'll just run a little curl right here, and if Mike had to be way in here to ask him to try to check run and then get out there, that's pretty hard for him. So we want to make him as successful as possible and still maintain our too high safety and stay over top everything. So like I said, we did a lot of under work where we would get our tackle into a 2-eye, which would bump Mike out. And then we could even hammer that end in and help him even more. But a lot of times we wouldn't even hammer the end. We just get him in the B gap, and that would give him the extra yards where he's not feeling like he can step and still make it here to help, as opposed to having to read run here and then get out there. So that's how we were able to use line slants and angles, but then also line alignment to help our linebackers be successful. And hopefully we can help you guys. If you have any questions, or if you have any, if you just want to talk ball or whatever, you can hit me up on Twitter or email me. But that's what we were doing this year. That's how we were able to be successful this year and get to the third round of playoffs by using formations and cheap line movements. What I mean by cheap is we're just a simple gap exchange. It's not costing us a lot. As long as our guy's not getting washed, it's not costing us a ton. And so typically on our slants, it was horizontal step and then get vertical right now. And so it worked out for us quite a bit, freeing up our linebackers and allowing them to make plays in space. So I thank everybody for watching. And like I said, if you have any questions, hit me up on Twitter or email me on that first slide. You can go back and see, or it's in the description, I believe, as well. And just keep coaching, keep playing ball, and look forward to getting ready for next year. Talk to you guys later.